At the KSMO studio, it's time for us to sit down with our interim hospital CEO, Mr. Jason Edwards. I'd like them to take that interim off there.
Maybe one of these days.
Maybe one of these days.
Maybe this one of these days.
Anyway, my buddy, appreciate you coming in and looking sharp in that nice tie and blazer, and it's
very professional. Huh?
You look like administration.
Well,
let's put it that way. No, I mean
my wife dresses me. So.
Your wife dresses you.
Well, somebody's got to keep me.
Well, that is true. That is true. Anyway, we are glad that you are here.
Well,
appreciate that, and Merry Christmas to you and your family. I'm hoping you guys are going to have a good one. Hope Santa Claus can make it through the rain to your house.
Oh yeah, Santa Claus. He usually always tends to make it by the time, but he occasionally can be late.
Well, it'll be raining this one time.
Oh yeah,
you might get stuck in the rain a little bit.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
No doubt about it. Well, anyway, we want to appreciate Jason coming in, spending some time with us, talk a little bit about the board of directors meeting from Tuesday. Of course, you've had a couple special meetings as well that's been in the last month, and some kind of difficult news with the dialysis and home health, and that is being phased out.
Sure.
People say, well, it's not closed. I saw people coming out of it. Well, that's not also open either. I mean, it is for your continuing patients for now. But,
absolutely.
you might explain how that's happening, Jason, if you would.
So with the what we are looking at with our pre-audit, there was a recommendation, and for several years
it's been talked about.
It's been talked about, and a lot of things just come to fruition. It's just the day and the times, and reimbursements and inflation and everything and costs. It just things you have to make in order to make sure Salem Hospital continues to go on.
Well, let's talk. I want to talk a little bit before Jason Edwards. I'm not sure when you started the hospital, but back in the 90s, our dialysis unit was jam-packed. It was going 7 days a week, round the clock.
Sure.
Okay, but technology has changed where there's home dialysis, and there's different things now to where you don't have to be at the hospital 3 days a week to get that done. And so since that has happened and that technology has changed, so that the demand for the dialysis unit, it's just not the same as it used to be. And this is not the first hospital to do it. West Plains just got rid of their dialysis unit not too long ago.
Yeah, it's just the changes in healthcare. It's like you said with peritoneal dialysis, and home dialysis, and the options patients have. That's a great thing for people.
It is a great thing.
It's a great thing, but it hinders services that we previously offered that we may not be able to do. If you start thinking about the prices of things going up and not having the patients to be able to for reimbursement, it just makes it very difficult to be able to continue to hold those services. So,
and those machines are not cheap.
No, they are not.
And maintaining them is not cheap.
Service plans you have to keep on them. It's continuous. It's costly. But when you start looking at phasing out a service, it doesn't matter when it comes to the time. It comes down to the patient. No matter what, the patient, we got to make sure there will not be a lapse in care. Right. It can't be.
No.
So we'll, as Salem Hospital, make sure that our patients are taken care of first and foremost.
Right. And it is a shame because that dialysis unit was donated by Dr. Weaver back in the day, and we all know it's been here for 40-something years, I believe, or 45 years, I think is what it is, and it will be a loss. And of course, we and home health was the same thing.
Sure.
But home health, and I don't know if everybody, people just say, well, how can they just make this decision overnight? Home health reimbursement, I think, changed about a little over a year ago, and at that time, Chief Nursing Officer Ashley, who was Sullins at that time, now Owens, had brought that to the board's attention. That now, instead of getting paid up front like you used to, like 90% or 80%, I don't know all the numbers. Now it's after the fact.
Sure.
So the hospital has to put all their expenses up front,
and then wait
for
reimbursement.
After 6 months, you can put in for partial payment, not even a full payment.
Right.
So the government has made some changes, Medicare, CMS, whoever it might be, and I don't know who's doing that, and I'm not on the level to know that. That's not my pay grade. However, but when I hear these things, sequestration, taking the 101% to 99, so you don't even break even.
Right.
You got this thing with Medicare or CMS, whoever it is, holding back payments. So hospitals have to fork up everything. And then after they submit the claim, it doesn't mean you're going to get paid, because they may find something in there that they don't like, and they'll send it back, and you're going to have to resubmit it. You may be waiting 90 to 180 days to get partial payment. Now, what is fair about this in the hospital business when everybody has to pay their insurance premiums on time, and you pay into Medicare all these days, and then all of a sudden when the hospital needs to be paid, there's no money to pay them?
Right. It's a waiting game, and we understand. It's just like, you know, if you think about your home finances and you have a bill, we want to hold on to our cash as long. I say we as individuals want to hold on as long as we can, and sometimes we just hold and we wait. We may go past that bill. You know, it's just the same concept. So insurance companies will hold on to their cash before they pay us. So wait even longer. So we have to hold on, and all of our expenses still sit there. All of our vendors still need to be paid, and we don't have the cash. So So getting those funds in the door is crucial. For the business to continue to survive. You know, and that's any business. It's, you know.
But that's one of the reasons that we've talked about here is getting that billing cycle and the revenues. You have to figure out the issues that are there and getting those accounts collected.
Sure.
You know, and that's why it's so important to keep that cash flow going, because, it's hard to have to always be waiting for being reimbursed. And those expenses don't get cheaper, and you have to So if you use these supplies at home health, or whatever part of the hospital, like I was just in there doing nuclear med, I know those aren't going to be cheap. So if those supplies are used, the next person coming in, well, you got to always replenish. And if you're waiting 180 days to be reimbursed for those,
for the original
one, and you have to replace it, and you know it's not going to be the same price it was 6 months ago if you got it then, it makes it really tough.
And that's hence where you start seeing cash go down.
And I'm hoping people realize this, and it's a cyclical thing, and you hope that the hospital, well, I mean, obviously you're addressing the problem, but you're hoping that they can pick up that accounts receivable a little bit quicker, and it takes a lot of work. You know, and when things in the transition mode, twice now the hospital has gone through this in 2 years. It really is hard to get any continuity through that, isn't it?
Sure. And you know, you think around the board, most rural critical access hospitals, just rural hospitals in general, staffing is always an issue. So you have to be able to work those accounts, and if you don't have the staff to be able to work, there's timely filing to be able to get that stuff done. So it's a game, it's a process. It's a tough one.
And not only that, with the increase in codes that you had to do, and I saw you guys just had a code update for CMS. I bet that was fun.
Very educational. We had well attended, but
might be well attended. But you know, one little click on a typewriter, computer, whatever it is, when you enter it, if one of those numbers on the code or letters is wrong, you don't get paid. And it's not only they don't pay you for that one item; they don't pay you for the whole claim till you resubmit.
Gets kicked back, and you got to redo the process all over.
And it's 30 more days or so after you resubmit.
Wrong insurance, wrong number on an insurance account number. It could be a number of different things.
It's not as cut and dry as I think people think it is out there. And I just want to make people aware of that. I mean, it's a never-ending battle, but it's a hospital who's trying to provide you with the care versus the people who don't want to pay for that care that you've been paying for in your premiums. That's really almost what it boils down to.
Absolutely.
You know, because when you have your deductible, you have to pay your deductible, but when they don't want to pay that residual, without a battle, come on, guys. I mean, seriously. And I will say this: I think it's gotten worse since the Obamacare and the markets that they try to put out. You know, when insurance companies used to have their own policies, I can go back. Well, I can't go back a long way, but years ago, like companies like American Family, State Farm, they all had their own health insurance. And if you had a policy with your home and your car and your health, and you had a pretty good price on your insurance. They had plans that were paid a lot quicker than they are now. And when Obamacare came in and they erased all those, and some of them had already dropped those lines, but others had picked them up. But
Sure.
once that came in, and now you're going to have a health marketplace, it's only going to be those big companies that's going to be able to offer that.
Right. It's challenging.
Healthcare
Healthcare
is very
is
challenging.
getting challenging every day.
I tip my cap to you guys. It's a constant war
Yeah.
to try and get paid. And it's unfortunate.
And the ultimate goal is just taking care of the community, and it's, you know, it'll go on.
It will. You guys will do a great job. You will get it figured out.
Sure, you bet.
So anyway, let's just jump into your report. You first talked a little bit about a payable of $365,000. You guys are working on payment plans on these things?
Yes, we are working. We did get a $365,000 roughly payable from Medicare in this last fiscal year. In the previous year, we had almost a $600,000 payable, so we're currently paying that one back. And now we're going to have another, and we're working with trying to get that payment plan set up too.
Well, how can they say the hospital being overbilling on Medicare? I don't get that, where you have to pay this back.
So
I mean,
what you're looking at is previously the rates were continued the same. Okay, so those were negotiated to be the same. So that did not change. So that's why we were overpaid again.
Okay.
And that kind of goes back into the audit and all kinds of new
Well, that
things
goes back
went
into
up
the transition, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So, and you're working on that payment plan to get
Sure.
that done. Okay. The CLIA inspection, you kind of came back in, found a couple more deficiencies, and you
Right.
guys have submitted another correction plan.
Yeah, that's
right?
kind of been an ongoing process with CLIA. When you get a target on you, you have to mitigate through it and work through those processes. We're working with CLIA, and we'll get it fixed.
It is hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever you start,
Then the white glove comes out, doesn't it?
absolutely. You know, when you get a facility our size, you normally see one inspector. When they come in with three, you know, they're actually in there to look and dig, and you know, and we've got a good crew, and we've fixed a lot of things, you know, and we'll mitigate through these. I mean, our processes are good, and we feel confident.
Very good. Well, it always. Here's the thing I hope people understand. When these inspectors come in, you have to stop doing what you're doing, work with the inspectors. Mm-hmm. And that takes personnel away. We always talk about critical access hospitals being somewhat short-staffed anyway. Can you imagine somebody coming in 3 days or something with 3 inspectors, and you have to have staff there to help them, and they can't do anything else?
Right. And a lot of these reports that they require, like our QA reports or, you know, quality controls, everybody is going to computerized, you know. But you may get an inspector that says, I don't want to see it on the computer. I want to see it on paper. Give it to me on paper. And if these takes time to look these things up and print out, and they timeline you. If you don't have it done when we ask for it, I'll give you 15 minutes. If you don't have it by then,
you get a flag.
That's a deficiency. You can't provide it in the time that I provided. And we did have some of that to where you didn't provide it in time. We had it, but it wasn't provided in a timely fashion. So we just have to, once we have to do the plan of correction, we have to submit that information along. It just makes a lot more legwork.
So are you guys going to, I mean, as one of the, and I'm just throwing this out there, if you know they're trying to do stuff like that, print the reports ahead of time. I know it's a lot of paperwork.
Well, they can, it is a lot of paperwork, but they'll be specific on certain things that they want.
Okay. So you can't jump the gun.
It's hard to jump the gun without knowing exactly what they want.
Well,
it's challenging.
You play by their rules,
Yep.
don't you? Yeah,
Yep.
and it's kind of rough. All right, we talked about the coding changes and the CMS rules for 2024. It's a never-ending battle. We already talked about that. And those, are there a lot of coding changes, or?
There are several coding changes, yes, and you know, I think with the group that we had with providers and the, you know, the different SMH employees that were there to help, I think we're going to be on top of it. So it'll be a good thing. We have to stay on top of it.
All right, you guys did meet with Jeremiah McWilliams on your 340B optimization implementation. He's a specialist in this area.
That's correct.
And he's going to update. Well, first off, they always change the policies every year.
Yep, they do that.
Why not? Just to keep you on your toes.
Sure.
And he's going to work with that optimization plan, and that will start at the beginning of 2024?
Yep, that's the first of the year. So hopefully to capture some more low-hanging fruit that are 340B opportunities that are for SMDH in our community. So
very good. So I think most people have already heard about the audit and then the pre-audit, and that's not even a post-audit. It may be better. You never know. After when they get done, finally all did by February, maybe they'll find it's not as bad. We always hope that, but it could also find it the other way.
Well, I mean, going from a 317,000 from what was presented to the public and at the board to a 2.5, that's still a big chunk. And that, I mean, this was last fiscal year.
Sure.
So,
but we have to remember, last fiscal year was RHG.
Yep.
You know, and they kept telling the public, and I'm not pointing my finger at RHG, but they kept presenting to the public that the hospital was making money for 6 months in a row. Did they not?
That's what I remember, yeah.
I do remember it. I still have those pamphlets that showed that. If that was the case, why would you be owing $2.5 million?
That's a good question. That's where your audit comes in, and they're digging, and they're still in the midst of it. So we're still in the weeds. They're still asking for information, and we're pulling it. So that's hopefully by pretty soon we'll be done with it, but then we'll know a final.
Yeah, very good. Well, anyway, I wish you the best in all that. I know that's not comfortable.
Yeah.
It can never be. No audit's comfortable,
Well,
but
sure.
when you already know that the first readings were not good, and you're always hoping that they will find some good in the rest of it, but you never know. You just really don't know what they're going to find in the weeds.
Sure. Yep. But that's the purpose of an audit.
It is. All right, so let's move forward. November, which actually was a fairly mild month, you know, when it comes
November,
to
yes.
for November, weather-wise and everything else. So we had 83 admissions, 250 census days. That's down. Usually is somewhat higher, but usually we see the flu coming in late October, November. We see the flu now.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's plenty of it, but not as busy as a normal November would be. Is it?
Yeah, if you look at the last fiscal year, in November, comparable is 342 compared to inpatient census days of 250, so significantly down.
Right. So, but I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, and that's just the way it was. Because again, the weather was really fairly mild. I mean, I remember Thanksgiving was 60 degrees.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And our Christmas is going to be 60 degrees.
Yeah, you never know what around the corner though.
No, you don't.
We won't speak of that.
And it doesn't mean that you're still not going to have diseases coming out. Flu,
Flu, COVID.
Flu and COVID have been actually spreading a little bit more here in the last, I'd say 2.5, 3 weeks. Usually you see that after Thanksgiving when people go visit, right?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
When you start getting people together and congregate, which is a great thing, and that needs to happen. But it's, taking precautions, washing your hands, making sure if you're not feeling well,
stay away.
Yeah, try to do something to prevent others from getting sick.
So our next congregation of people comes up Monday, or possibly over the weekend. And, a lot of people have parties this time of year and get-togethers, family, friends, neighborhoods, whatever it might be. So, again, be cautious. If you're not feeling well, stay home.
Yep.
And I mean stay home and lock yourself away. If you can.
What do they call that?
Seclusion. Solitary confinement. Yeah, that's really when I get under the weather. That's what I prefer.
Yeah,
go away, leave me alone, lock me in the door, and just don't bother me.
It's tough on the holidays, but if you think about
it is. Outpatient registration, so we're up. I mean, that's the good news. And cardiopulmonary has been strong. Lab is still strong. Radiological procedures still strong, even with the decrease in admissions.
Yep. Still,
the outpatient registrations are still strong.
Right. And, you think your outpatient and your ancillaries are a big driver for a lot of our revenues. So you see patients, our hospital's being utilized and it's needed. So that's the ultimate goal, is be able to take care of people.
Rehab continues to be strong, though down a little bit. Because obviously the holiday in November as well, with Thanksgiving holiday. Some people say, well, that's a big drop. I said, no, that's called holiday. That whole week.
Holidays affected, and the fact of the inpatient admissions being down, that also affects it as well.
Exactly. All right, surgical procedures, 34, which is that's
pretty
nice.
Good.
Yep. Actually, last year they were only 17, so that's always good. And long-term care, are we short again one person?
We are down to 16.
16.
Yeah. As of right now, we did lose one.
Very good. I hate to hear that. But if you have an interest in the long-term care out of the hospital, which is one of the finest facilities, give them a call. Even if you're not ready right now, give them a call. Get on the waiting list.
Absolutely. Yep.
Man and woman, two women.
I'm not for sure the actual beds, how those have been rotated.
Okay, very good. So just give them a call. You can call the hospital 729-6626 and ask for long-term care, and talk to them about it, and they can give you more information.
Absolutely. We'd love to.
Very good. So Let's go to ER. ER's been very consistent, and I want to, we talked about the family clinic with coming on board with that open Saturday walk-in thing. That has really helped cut down on some numbers out of the ER.
Sure.
But at the same time, the ER still stays very busy, and was in there a couple times myself here in the last few weeks. And depending upon what your situation is, of course, I had some chest pains. I was in there in, a minute and a half inside the emergency room in a minute and a half. So
Right.
I think that's, I handed them my cards, told them what was wrong, and they escorted me in. So that's kind of the way it works. But if you're there and you're having maybe you've got a cut on your finger or something, if you have to wait a little bit, please understand why those other people are going in there a little ahead
Sure.
of you.
Yep. There are some issues where events occur
Yes.
that are real, true emergencies, that life emergency. So sometimes those things take precedence.
Yes, they do. And that's, but there was nobody else in there when I went in,
Yeah.
actually. But there was some people came in right after me that watched me go in that quickly. So very good. And a tip of my cap to all the nurses and doctors in there, Dr. Ford, Dr. Al, and all the nurses that did a tremendous job. I mean, really did. It got me comfortable, hooked me up, did what the tests were needed, and analyzed things and got things done quickly. So
Sure.
very good. Of course, all the numbers still have some transfers, but transfers are down to 23, that's the kind of the goal
Right.
that the hospital has had. Stop transferring people we don't need to transfer.
Yes. If we can take care of you at home, that's where and I feel the patient would want to be at home with their family and loved ones to be able to, if we can treat you here, we want to be able to treat you here.
Sure.
Now, if it's something that we're transparent, if it's something that we cannot take care of, obviously we're going to get you to the care that you need.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, like I said, my chest pain was able to be brought under control very quickly, so I was good to stay there. I still got admitted, and it's a 24-hour observation, which is protocol. That's
Sure.
just typical. And everything was good.
Good.
So they allowed me to walk away
There you go. And you're
after
here with
I was
me.
released.
And we're here today.
Yeah, and we're here today.
Yeah.
Very good. Ambulance runs and I'm telling you what, they continue to escalate, and that's also costly to the hospital,
Very
isn't
costly,
it? Because the ambulance goes out, and then if they're not needed, it becomes what they call a dry run.
Dry run.
The dry run is a non-income producing run. You get nothing back on a dry run, do you?
And you think about the gas usage, the expense. There's expense once they get in there's expense starting as soon as this drive starts. So when you go to a dry run, absolutely all that expense is absorbed to the hospital.
There's actually an additional expense too, Jason, because you got people on staff ready to go, and if they're called out, and another accident happens, then that was going to be a dry run.
Yep.
The second team has to go out in a second ambulance, and that is an increased expense.
And especially being staffing with the short staffing, if we have to call people on overtime or that's even additional expenses.
That's what I mean. So
yeah, it's tough. It's a conundrum.
I mean, it's a service you have to provide.
Sure,
but
absolutely.
it's also one that people, I think, they make a lot of money off that. No,
Yeah.
not compared. When you look at that 78 dry runs, it's virtually almost a third every time. 30% to about 35% has been pretty much standard every month. That's a lot. If you have $100, you imagine if you had $100 in your pocket and you lose $35 every month off that, and it's only worth $65. Doesn't that kind of hurt after
Right.
a while?
Oh yeah,
But that's kind of the way it works.
it's
Anyway.
very much warranted, but those things happen.
It is very good. All right, as we go into the dollar figures, of course, when the inpatient admissions are down, and also the revenues are down, but it looks like you're rounding some expenses into what I see is a little bit more understandable and a little bit more, I would say, ideal for our hospital. A couple of the ones you can't really do much about, obviously the ancillaries, usually your contracts with these nurses and things of that nature.
Sure.
And doctors and whoever you need, and that is always going to be higher.
Yep,
So
that's always an added expense, and they are going to be higher. And we're trying to whittle those things down the best we can, but in order to be able to take care of people and have those services, you have to get them.
Yeah. And of course, we know the insurance. We talked about that here after that special meeting, and you know how that becomes part of it, and that's part of the administration in general, I'm assuming. So, you know, when I saw that, I'm thinking, wow, you know, that the insurance costs that we were talking about, what's going to happen with the employees, and the hospital's going to pick up the difference. I mean, that's a great gesture on the hospital's part, but the hospital's not exactly holding in profits either.
Yeah.
So you're taking care of your employees at the expense of the operation of the hospital. So,
Absolutely.
so the
So it
hospital
takes
has
the
to do more.
operations. Yes, we have to do more.
Absolutely have to do more. So again, I tip my cap to them. They're doing the best they can to pull things under control, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and the that's, you know, when you think about the operating expense, I know the operating expenses were higher for this month. Well, that's a lot of AP cleanup. You know, previously, if you think, there was a lot of questions about the accounts payable.
Sure.
You know, and things were not adding up. And since with our Doug Hoban, our CFO, and our accounting team working together to get this all pulled together, that's why you're seeing a lot of these expenses coming out, because it's being cleaned up. A lot of payables that have went out in the last, you know, 4 months. So we've had to make sure, and vendors, previously, we were getting questions, you know, because the AP does not look right, and
Sure.
we knew it. I mean,
Right.
once we onboarded, we knew it wasn't right. So we started digging into it, and, you know, and then you got vendors that are calling, saying, well, you're at a point, you're losing, you're being shut off now.
Right, right.
So we have to start making those payables now. So that's also another decrease in cost. So it's just a never-ending storm.
Wow.
So
And I hope people understand when you're talking about these accounts payable, it doesn't mean that some payments weren't made. It's just maybe they were only a partial payment.
sure.
You know, just to extend that credit a little bit. But here's the problem: is sooner or later you have to pay. You have to pay Paul, and Peter's out of money.
Right.
You know, and the sad part is that okay, now these vendors who are on top of their accounts receivable, well, your accounts payable is not accurate, so you have to ask the vendor. Now we need to have all that. You've got to redo that whole thing to make sure what you actually owe these vendors.
Absolutely. They were not input into the system, so where we knew what was going on, so we're getting vendors calling saying, you owe this. Well, we don't show that, so we clean all that up, and that's why you see the increase in accounts payable.
Well, and that's going to take a while.
It is.
That's going to hang around for a little while, and
We're getting closer, though. I mean, it's...
well, I tip my cap. I know Doug's going to do a great job for you, and he's quality all the way through. But you are limited the amount
Sure.
that you can pay because you have to bring that money in. You got to pay your doctors. You got to pay your staff.
Yep.
And it does make it a little bit tougher. And
Yeah.
so, but still a tip of the cap to the accounting people because it is not easy when you have to go back through the books and then you have to ask, okay, and you have to ask a vendor, what do we owe you? Can you send us that documentation? And you're taking time out of that vendor.
Sure.
They've already sent all this information. Now they're resending it. Then you're getting it. Now you're comparing it to what you had before. And if it doesn't jive, you got to call that vendor back.
Yeah, see where we're at again.
Yeah, and so a lot
then-
of extra work, and it takes a
Absolutely.
lot of extra time. Jason and I tip my cap to the guys because I know this is going to be a battle for another 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 to 10 months.
Yeah, but we'll get it. We know it's an issue, and we'll get it whittled down.
Very good. All right, so loss of operations of about $420,000, and okay, not a
Yep.
good thing, but again, you can see where the money is coming from, and you see where it's going to have to go.
Right, and comparable to the year prior, I mean, there was a $1.2 million loss in the year prior at this
Oh,
time.
yeah.
So, I mean, we're actually on a positive note. We're less than what that was, even though it's not where we want to be. But again, it's cleaning up our accounts payable and, and having those low inpatient census days. And
So one of the things that start going to come up in the next monthly statements, and I know this is not going to be accurate because that'll start when RHG starts saying that they made a profit in December. And they went from December all the way to May that they made a profit every month now. And they've always shown that loss up until this statement. And I'm interested to see what's on that December statement. How do you account for those numbers, which were not correct?
Right.
You can't go back and re-audit those numbers, but it's going to, if somebody would look at these numbers, Jason, the first thing you're saying, well, look at the hospital had a gain last December, and you may have a big gain this December because the hospital's been really kind of busy.
yeah, it's starting to pick up, which is that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But that means people are sick, and That's
That's
not
not
a
a
good
great
thing.
thing. Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, your hospital services are here. That's why you're here.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
but again, I just want to point that out. It's not a true vision of what's actually happening.
True.
You know, so when you see that number, knowing what they just found with $2.5 million that wasn't there, you know, that number that was being provided back in December probably wasn't very accurate. I'm not saying it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying when you start having 6 months in a row at a gain and you don't have that gain, that's probably not true. All right, let's obviously we kind of a little bit talked about some of the expenses, but most of the expenses really are in line with everything as far as normal and budget. Really nothing that's just skewed way out there. The only thing is supplies.
Sure.
And supplies, we all know what's the price of supplies. How can you even budget supplies anymore? The budget was one number. Even the actual last year was higher than that. And then this year, we've seen supplies go up 40, 50%.
Right. Yeah, increase, and that's when you talk about the inflation and the, you know, and we have group purchasing to where we can get a better price, but still yet that still goes up. I mean,
Well,
that
yeah.
with the inflation, things go up and continue to go up, and a lot of this is getting, you know, cleaning up the accounts payable. We have to get those accounts paid for, but prices are not going down at all.
No. And I don't see it happening here
Sure.
in the next little while either. So anyhow, excuse me. When I look back, like I said, over those numbers, not out of line, but when you're not have the income, number one, from lack of inpatient admissions, and a consistent increase in supply costs, and you wonder why you have a $400,000 loss. You have a $300,000 increase in supplies.
Yep. And a lot of that has to do, A, increasing prices, and
Yeah.
B, accounts payable.
Accounts payable, which is what,
Making sure our vendors are getting paid.
about 1.4 in November, about 1.4 million, right?
Yep.
That sound about
Sounds
right?
about right.
Okay, very good. So the cash obviously has gone down, you know, because you're paying bills,
Yep.
and you're trying to keep afloat with the, you know, income, and you have to keep getting those net patient accounts receivable, and you're getting some of those collections made. That's why you're able to pay some of these bills.
Sure.
But you can't pay them all until that money comes in.
That's correct. And, you know, and it's like we said before, I mean, they tend to hold on to the cash. Insurance companies, they want to hold on to it too.
Well,
So
we all do too.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, and sometimes they have investments that don't come due to the end of the month. And guess what? You don't get paid till after the end of the month.
Sure.
So it might be 66 days instead of 60.
Yeah.
Or
Unfortunately,
72 days.
Unfortunately, we just have to sit and wait.
Yeah, I know. It's out of your control.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate because it reflects on our hospital. Insurance companies don't care.
Sure.
Don't care. All right, very good. But the balance sheet overall, though, does not look bad. And it actually is still very, very viable for what the hospital has gone through and you're going through, especially with the audits and the numbers. So, again, you've got to run your business, and the only way to do it is just stay on top of the numbers.
Absolutely.
The operating fund is still at $5.715 million. So, yeah, that's less than last year. But again, how accurate were some of those numbers last year? So we have to, I don't want to say it's a phantom kind of deal, but it does not lead to a lot of good feeling credibility that those numbers were correct.
Sure. And that's whenever we get to the audit, we'll know more, hopefully, when we get that finalized.
Very good. All right. So as we go through the cash flow statement, we always talk about cash flow, and it's very important. And you guys take a look at that on basically every 2 weeks, and now you're doing it by month, and just kind of keeping an idea. Right. The board wanted to keep an eye on it, and that's good comparison.
Right. And this ebb and flows every day.
Every day.
Yeah, no, every minute of every day. So
every day. So got some CDs coming up.
Yep. So we had looked at, and we changed those to different. The Town and Country Bank had them rolled over to the 12-month.
A little bit better rate.
A little bit, yeah. And hopefully we're looking at the other CDs that the previous management had put into 0.7 for a 36-month, 3 years. So we're going to look into that and maybe change that up a bit to where the better rate.
Yeah, if you can get that term down without having to pay a big penalty.
Sure, there you go.
But if you can get 5% versus 0.7,
sure, yep. You may, even if you had to pay a little,
it.
yeah.
Maybe worth it. All right,
Sure.
Very good. Days cash on hand is
Also fluctuates every day.
Yeah, it's not where you want it to be, but you still have a buffer. We'll believe it that way, because it goes anywhere from 30 to 35, and it's gonna bounce.
Yeah.
Like you said, you get a bunch of cash in one day, it looks great.
Yep.
And then it all goes out because you got to pay the bills. It doesn't look good the next day.
Yep. And then you have multiple payrolls you have to go through on different months, and
sometimes 3 payroll months, sometimes 1.
Yep.
But anyway, without going through a lot of detail here, the clinic continues to do well.
Right.
I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit.
Oh, go for it.
Because we can go through every one of these numbers, Jason, but, like I said, the hospital has its ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at what's going on, it's going to happen this way until everything can get worked out.
Right. Right. So,
and we can go through a lot of numbers and tell people this is this. But, family revenue still is $403,000.
Right.
Still a nice chunk of change
Yep.
to be bringing in. So when you see that importance, and when you look at a previous year of a lot less,
mm-hmm.
you notice that the family clinic, number one, being used more.
Yep.
Number two is in that walk-in part of the clinic, I'm sure, is getting utilized. I hear more and more people say, yeah, on Saturday, just went out to the clinic, didn't have to wait at all.
Right. It's just to have that option for the public.
Just to have that option.
We don't. There's no other option other than an ER,
Right.
which is 24/7. But to be able to have that to go see a provider on the weekend I think it's good for our community.
Sure, if you have a little sniffle or something,
Sure.
or maybe you got a little, maybe you got just a little congestion, you're just not quite sure what it is, you can go see them first. And if you need to be then admitted, or they may send you to the ER if it's something they can't detect.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right there. So
Yep.
it's good to have that. Very good. All right, 340B revenues. We'll talk a little bit about that.
So with the 340B revenue, if you look at, has been a huge, part of funds for the hospital, and it's a great service for the community.
Right.
So, and that's what's more important is, even though it is a driver for us, it's great for the community. And
Sure.
That's something we do not want to lose. So we're looking at with Jeremiah McWilliams to optimize this. If you look back in fiscal year 22,
Mm-hmm.
of $1.3 million in 340B revenue, which totaled out to just over 800,000.
Right.
In fiscal year 23, that dropped. So we starting to see where we need to find ways to optimize this program. So that's where we're working with Jeremiah McWilliams to capture that low-hanging fruit and see if we can get that funding back for the hospital, and be able to offer even more services for our community.
So, and I don't understand the 340B program.
It's a
at
kind
all,
of
and
it's a big conundrum. There's a lot to it, and with the drug manufacturers, it's changing all the time. Even with our consultant, he
Right.
said it's always changing.
So he's going to find the optimization areas that the hospital can use to their advantage,
Right.
and it also will help out the community as well.
Absolutely, it's where we can capture who are our hospital. If you use our hospital all the time and you're going to do a referral of some
Right.
sort, we should be able to capture that revenue.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. All righty, so let's hope that Jeremiah can increase that. It'd be nice to get, back up to that $1.2 million level.
Definitely
Or
not
even
possible.
close to it.
Right.
Very good. Because you're half that. Oh, you're third that now.
Yep. Right.
Wow. So, again, one of those things that we talk about, out of the control of the hospital, but you have to live with what those drug companies do.
Sure.
And those reimbursements. All right, Chief Nursing Officer report had some openings there. They're still there. If you're an RN or an LPN,
Always
they're
welcome.
always looking for nurses.
Yep.
Always.
Always open to join the part of the team.
You betcha.
One team, one fight, one family, right?
And you had 9 new hires back in November. And
Yep.
a few people left. And it happens.
Yep.
You're going
It
to
is.
always
A little
have
bit of turnover.
transitioning
Sure.
going on. And, of course, marketing and community relations, here we are.
We're doing it again.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Wow.
All the
Pretty
time.
cool. Pretty cool stuff. Absolutely. All right, very good. So in the old business, let's talk a little bit about that. You're still working on that state and matching funding update that
Correct.
still needs to be done. You've got
Yeah.
that
So
grant sitting out there.
we've got the contract, and we are actually signed the contract with the state. So we're going to start implementing those. So what we're looking at with the timeline that was in the contract, very hard to do any construction, get a loan, it's just not timely. It's not not possible.
No.
To get it all done by the time a general contractor and you get all the quotes and you get the building, it's not even going to be completed in time before it's that date is out.
Sure.
So you're talking about the beginning of the fiscal year until May. It's like, so we're already almost there.
Yeah.
So
without having bids right now, I mean, you don't have anything.
Exactly. So it is an opportunity to where this is for capital improvements. So it's very open to what we can submit. So we do capital improvements consistently. So you're talking maintenance, you're talking any kind of capital lease, that we're going to try and invoice the state and send that to them for capturing those funds. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get and pick and choose everything we can with the state, and we're working with that to be able to get.
Slow process.
It is a slow process, but we've since signing, we're jumping on it, and we're going to start sending it that way.
All right, very good. Strategic planning update. The Delta meeting was rescheduled.
It was rescheduled. I was really looking forward to getting that meeting to be able to, because strategic planning is huge for looking for the future for Salem Hospital, and working with the Delta to work. My ultimate plan was to get with the Delta region for funding. Either A, they can help us with the strategic plan themselves.
Sure.
B, we can actually request funds to get the strategic plan assistance, and I was looking toward people-centric because we have used them before, and they're great with strategic planning. And also the possibility of using MHA, Missouri Hospital Association.
Right.
So a lot of opportunity.
There is.
But it was rescheduled to January 9th, so we'll know more after the 1st of January.
You're just going to have to wait till next year.
Yeah, I know. I don't like waiting.
I know. Well, time is money, and it's, and when you're starting to try and put together a plan, and then that gets postponed. I mean, you're getting ramped up for that plan. You're on top of it. You know everything, and then all you got to set it aside, and then you're going to have to get busy with other things. And by the time you come back to it, now you got to get revamped up to do it again. It's not that you can't do it. It's just now you got to stop doing what you've already done this for like maybe a week. Got everything ready to go. Now you got to put off 3 weeks.
Sure.
Come back and try and do it again. And I know how tough that is because you're getting sidetracked with something else.
Right.
New business?
No new business.
That was easy.
I guess it must be the December month. We don't have to have any new business for December.
How about closed session? Anything go on there? Did you vote it on?
No votes.
No votes?
No votes.
Very good. All righty, my friend. Well, I do appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us. Our interview brought to you by Inman Insurance. We always appreciate Keith and his staff down there. Tremendous job.
And great supporter of the hospital.
They are a great supporter of the hospital, and that's why they sponsor these interviews. And we do appreciate everybody coming in that the hospital has sent in, and hopefully we'll be able to send in the next year. I'm assuming that schedule is being put together, though I haven't received it yet.
Haven't received it yet?
No.
I'll have to get on my marketing person.
There you go. There you go. But, a lot of times you have to get with the directors and find out. And,
sure.
Things aren't always as obvious as they may seem. A lot of times, especially what the hospital tries to do, is what Jason used to try and do. I'm not sure who's doing it now, but when I have an idea. But used to try and coordinate the guests with maybe that special that's going on that month, whether it be Nurses Month or
Appreciation Week, Appreciation
Sure,
Month of some sort.
Whatever it is,
sure.
And that's what we always try to do to make sure people understand that, there are some pretty important weeks out there and some important months as well for care that's in our community. And a matter of fact, Jason, I was going to even tell you today, and I won't tell you on the air, I've been to the hospital I've been going to the hospital board meetings since like 89.
That's a lot of board meetings.
A lot of board meetings,
yeah.
Okay? And I knew we had nuclear medicine. I never knew what nuclear medicine was. Didn't know who was doing it. Didn't know anything until I had to use it.
Right.
Now, I found out that this person's been there 7 years. I've never talked to her. I didn't know anything about nuclear medicine. So she educated me, a lot about what I was doing with my stress test and why this was being done and blah, 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 blah. And I found it extremely interesting because I doubt if 25 people out there have any idea what nuclear medicine is and what it's used for.
Right. And it's to be able to offer that service that other facilities don't. That's what Little Salem Hospital and Little Critical Access Hospital in Salem, Missouri, the services that we offer it's why it's unfortunate when you start having to look at closing certain things.
Sure,
it really hurts, but because it's for the community. But be able to offer that to where we don't have to waste time and money to go to St. Louis or Springfield, or you can have that service done right here in wherever your cardiologist is, wherever your gastroenterologist, whatever your tests need, they can get that result right there.
Yeah. And I want to give a big shout out to our radiology department. Of course, I've had to use them a couple times here lately. Did get a MRI, actually an MRA, because they were looking at my kidneys, but nonetheless, and top notch, Bobby, Larry, all the gang down there, they do a fantastic job. And I had to go in there and do that MRA, and when I came out, and of course everything was good, then I got read by the doctor, and they came back and found out I have an extra artery to my right kidney, which is great. I have an auxiliary artery. Just in case one gets shut off, I got an extra one.
You got an extra. You got a spare.
I got a spare. Most people don't have that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it was all done quickly. It was done efficiently, in and out. No pressure. I mean, they're talking to you. They try and keep you relaxed. Anytime you go in MRI, and you have to, even though it's an open bore, you can still feel a little constricted when they put your body in there. And, and I'll tell you, the first thing he says, "You okay? If you got a problem, you squeeze this thing, and we'll take care of it." I mean, I had no issues at all, but I'm telling you what, and then to get it read, get contacted saying everything's good, and then people have their portal, and I highly recommend, Jason, for them to use that portal.
Sure.
Because even before I got the call from the doctor, I was able to go on a portal and read my report.
Sure. I mean, that's your medical record.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so when I looked at it and I read it, first they said I was grossly normal. I took that as an insult. I thought I've never been normal in my life. But
I have never got that comment from me.
Yeah, but anyway, what that meant was that all the organs that they looked at were fine. So, which is great. It makes you feel better that everything is working the way it should be. And then they also put that little indicator, by the way, you have an extra auxiliary right artery that goes into your kidney. I think, how the heck does that happen? But your body's different.
Yep. Everybody's body's different. It's nice to have a reserve, I guess.
I guess so. I guess if I ever had to donate an organ, it would be my left kidney. But my right one's got an extra, supplier of blood. So it'd be a nice thing. But anyway, I wanted to comment on the services of the hospital. And trust me, I've had to be admitted twice due to chest pain, number one, dizziness another time. And I've done nothing but absolutely taken care of, top notch. Yep. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here with Jason. I'm there, and I know a lot of those people, and they come in, they talk to me, and trust me, if you don't know who they are when you go in, you will know who they are by the time you get out, because they will stand there and talk to you and make you feel as comfortable as possible. And we talk about family. We talk about that. That's what you become if you have to become a patient. They know you're not in there because you want to be in there.
Sure. Well, it's our community taking care of our community,
and that's exactly what it is. And you mentioned it with the fight. That's what it's all about.
Sure.
And these people are there for you, and they do a tremendous job. And I can't thank them enough. I'm not done. I have a couple other things I need to do. One of them I can't do here, so I have to go to St. Louis. But I'm still using my local doctor here for advice. Even though I'm going to go somewhere else, they may do something and tell me I need to have this done. Fine, let me go talk to my doctor.
There you go. Yep. One team, one fight.
Yeah. Well, before you do any incisions or anything like that, we're going to go talk to you. And if he's on board with it, and because they're going to talk jargon to me,
sure,
then I'm pretty sure I won't understand at all.
There you go. Yeah, and that's what different Salem Hospital. You get the care you get here. When you have community taking care of community, family taking care of family, it's different whenever you go someplace else. Not saying you're not going to get good care.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't feel is the care that you can get when you're getting taken care of by somebody you know.
Right. I call it the Bob Seger effect. You feel like a number.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's the Bob Seger effect.
Bob Seger.
Feel like a number. Just a number.
Yeah.
Well, and it does happen, and that's kind of how Medicare now they see you as a number of insurance companies. They don't see you. They just see a policy number. That's all they look for. So
Well, you're not here.
no, not here. Anyway, Jason, thank you very much. You have a
Always
Merry
a pleasure.
Christmas. Again, thanks to Inman Insurance for providing this interview. And we hope that obviously the fight continues, and we hope that you find maybe that pot of gold somewhere in there that
That's the reach.
you couldn't find before. But we just ask people to be patient with your Salem Hospital. They are doing the best they can to restructure. By the way, if you want to be a board of director, there are some openings.
Yep.
I think there's 3, right?
I believe so, yeah. So if you need to, there is a timeline to be able to get that. And I can't.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't have
coming up
much
quick.
time, yeah.
So if you're interested, come on up.
The problem is the boundaries of those districts. That's the big problem, because you may want to serve and you are across the street from the one that's open. So anyway, but if you don't know where the hospital boundaries are, and if you did know, I'd be highly amazed. You can stop by the office, the administration office, and find out, or call them.
Sure.
729-6626
4,000.
4,000, okay. And just ask, and they can kind of get and tell them where you live and tell them what street you're on, and then pretty much they can kind of figure out what district you're in, and if that board of director is coming up for election. We've had a couple of resignations which have to be filled. So that's all coming up. So hey,
You bet. Always new changes, transition.
it's right around the corner. But if you are interested, you must file by next Tuesday. They will be closed Christmas Day. Nobody will be in the office on Christmas Day or on Monday. They have to be in the office Tuesday by law.
Yeah.
So whether they want to be there or not, they're going to have to be. But what, 4:30 is your kind of cutoff?
Yeah, around,
time?
I believe it's 4:30.
Okay, so anyway, by 4:30 next Tuesday, if you want to be signed up to be a board member of the Salem Memorial Hospital, feel free to do so. There's no charge. You can just go in and sign up, but you got to make sure the opening is in your district.
Sure. Yep.
That's the only thing. It's not just one.
Random.
It's not just one, yeah. And they looked at doing that, trying to make it just open to anybody, but they felt that the representation of that part of the hospital district may not be there.
Sure.
Because if anybody's not aware, and we were talking here, and I'm going to wrap it up real quick, hospital district is way beyond Dent County. It's not just in one county.
Yeah,
You've
it's
got
multiple counties.
Crawford County, you got Iron County, you got Reynolds County, you got Texas County, and you got Dent County, and it's a big, big, big area that people should be represented by somebody that lives in their area. And I think it makes sense, but you got to get somebody to do it.
Yep.
So feel free to check 729-6626 extension 4000 and talk with Hannah or whoever might answer the phone in there, and then you can find out more about those districts and boundaries. And if they can't really distinguish because you might be right on the line,
Yep.
feel free to stop by the hospital. They can bring the map out.
Yep.
They can show you.
We got it out on the wall right now.
There you go.
All right.
Buddy, you have a Merry Christmas.
You do as
and the
well.
kids. And you can even tell your brother to have a Merry Christmas.
I may.
Tell your mom to have a Merry Christmas.
I will do
too.
that.
There, very good.
I will do that.
I appreciate you, sir, and
Appreciate it.
all that our board does and all of our hospital does. And remember, this interview brought to you by Inman Insurance right here in Salem. Keith Inman and his staff, and we thank them for making this possible. Jason, you have a fantastic day today.
I will do that.
I hope you do that.
It'll
I
be
mean, that's what the whole
Run and gun.
That's what the whole goal is, right?
Sure.
Anyway, we'll be back with Civic Happening shortly. KSMO Radio.
What's the fastest way for you to get yourself up to date on the latest in news, sports, weather, and obituaries that costs you absolutely nothing? It's Your World Today. Serving Salem and Dent County now for over 20 years, Your World Today is 4 pages of information that will take you about 5 minutes to read, and they're available in over 30-plus locations in Salem and in Bunker. Your World Today. Pick one up every weekday. They're free.
MFA Agri-Services of Salem would like to wish each and every one a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. MFA would like to remind you to shop local and make time to share the holidays with your families. And may you experience true enjoyment. MFA Agri-Services would like to thank everyone for their continued patronage over the years and look forward to serving you in the future.
The following message is brought to you by Show Me Zero. Some decisions can't be reversed, like the decision to drink and drive, or letting your friends drive impaired. So this holiday season, and every time you plan on drinking, make a plan for a sober ride before you go out, so you know you can get home safely. That way this doesn't have to happen. Buckle up, phone down, slow down, drive sober. Simple actions save lives.
Check off your shopping list with Cardinals Baseball. 5 and 10 game packs are on sale now and feature 2024's highest demand games and promotional giveaways. Choose from the opening day pack, bobblehead pack, Cubs pack, and more. New for 2024, check out the 10 game for the Lou pack, which includes lots of new STL